Good afternoon. Thank you for sharing a little time. My name is Janice LaFleur, and I am the founder and the now executive director and former primary lead guide of the Montessori American Indian Child Care Center in for a long time, St. Paul, Minnesota. So we are located in the Midwest, and we have been open for 10 years. A big part of our work here in the urban area is to focus and revitalize the language and culture among our urban Indian communities in the Twin Cities area. It has been a treat and an honor to work with our children and our families over the years to talk about that, to familiarize you with Minnesota. The predominant indigenous communities are the Ojibwe or the Anishinaabe and the Dakota people as well. We make efforts to embed both the language and culture of those tribes in our everyday experiences with children. An important part of our work to revitalize the language is working with families. And so, for over 10 years, a big part of our work that we do is working with families and children on common languages and common phrases and things that we're sharing with children, we're sharing with parents as well. We actually host Family Nest and use a monthly newsletter to make sure that we're sharing all of that information and giving families the opportunity to learn and engage with their children at home as well. Language revitalization really looks like how we embed. Montessori is very conducive to our cultural values as American Indian people. And so we get to live and practice every day what we consider our 7 grandfather teachings. And those teachings really relate to how we relate to each other as human beings, how we relate to everything around us. It's a kinship relationship. So we get to talk and share in both Ojibwe and the Dakota our cultural values and our focus for the month. We are in the month now of November, and so we'll spend time learning about some of the traditional teachings of this time of the year, focused around an animal, so that we can understand how we once would have used and still use today all the parts of the things around us and of that animal. It made Montessori a natural fit when it came to scientific nomenclature, right? So now not only do we learn about the parts of that animal, we'll also learn about the cultural uses we once would have practiced. And in sharing that information and sharing those stories, we hope and understand how that begins to affirm the identity of our children. And we focus on building that cultural identity so they can have pride in who they are and how they feel about themselves. We know as Montessorians that the greatest gift is when a child can learn to be proud and accomplish it for themselves. That same sense of pride comes with that cultural identity. I am proud to be Anishinaabe. I am proud to be Dakota. Our children learn to introduce themselves. We have, over the years, worked with families who absolutely embrace language learning at home, and those children learn so quickly, and others who are learning to practice those cultural values. And so many of the Indigenous core values is the fact that children are sacred. And so we children are the Wakaneja. We understand the spirit within them and value them for who they are. So we share those teachings in all those ways. We are not a fluent program, unfortunately. The historical policies and practices in the United States severed a lot of those ties to our cultural speakers. And so we are working on revitalizing that language and practicing our cultural ways. And in an urban setting, that's how we do it. I'm so pleased to often share that there are other tribal Montessori programs in the States that are holding on to their language and are actually immersion programs. So their indigenous language is still their mother tongue. And how are they building and holding and retaining and passing on the teachings and how we practice and raise our children together as a community? I think that the fun part of 10 years of serving children is the way in which materials have developed, right? At first, I had to find my own footing as a lead guide to learn from the children how and what they wanted to learn so that I could find my level of my own confidence and comfort in sharing with them. We lead by example. And so then that meant I had to spend time building my own confidence in my own language skills. And one of the ways, don't tell anyone, in which I had to do that was to make sure that I put both the Ojibwe and sometimes the Dakota on a lot of those language materials for me to begin to use. And in no time at all, I can name many, many things. We sing many, many of our preschool songs in both languages. Song is a beautiful gift. And it's one of the easiest ways that I've learned to engage children in learning. The parents absolutely love it. Each day, we also get to practice our thank you song as part of our spirit dish, as part of lunch. And so, practicing our language is something that happens every day. I think one of the most important, one of the most exciting and proud moments, I think, over the years for me is knowing the indigenous name some of our children have been gifted, right? And listening to parents and grandparents interact and then beginning to use that name ourselves because that's what they prefer. Over the years, we've also had children whose names are in both Ojibwe or Dakota. And so it is a beautiful way to see how our families have already begun to choose to promote and practice their own language and culture in their homes. I think that's probably a little bit about how we have chosen. We have a whole, rotation cycle as good Montessorians of materials that we're able to bring in and ensure that each year, as new children join us, we're able to continue to share, to let the older children take on that leadership role with the younger children. The multi-age grouping is also one of those incredibly useful ways in which we practice. The children will use and do use at various times their own, both either Ojibwe or Dakota. And so at the Montessori American Indian Child Care Center, we're more than just a child care center because we spend the time to bring in the families to ensure that we are practicing and working together around the sacredness of our children, all tied to who we are as Indigenous people. And it's in the language that we are able to build that strong sense of cultural identity and pride. And I think that that's one of the most important gifts that in the early years that we can build and share with our children. They'll be set for life when they are comfortable and confident in who they are. Miigwech, thanks for letting me share.
The institution is a 30-year-old institution, and we have seen children that we have seen that helping children learn their mother tongue has a huge positive impact on the learning and growth of them as individuals. Learning mother tongue makes them feel more confident in expressing themselves, helps to increase uh, their participation in various class activities, encourages them to participate more. It validates them. It makes them feel as if they've been heard and understood. And at the same time, not all children who come into our environment come with an exposure to spoken English. So when we interact with them in their mother tongue, uh, we see that they understand. They are able to respond to what we are saying, as compared to when we interact them in a language which they do not know, we see a blank face. So it's always good to see a child's face and know that the child has understood what we are trying to say. And as my experience as a teacher, I feel that learning concepts in mother tongue helps children grasp concepts more quickly and connect with the information instantly. Uh, their means of communication in their homes is not necessarily English, so they are more comfortable in communicating with us in their mother tongue. And when we narrate stories to them in their mother tongue, we see a joy on their face, a spark in their eyes. They are actually understanding what we are saying. So rather than just reading a story to them in a language they don't understand, we don't see that instantly. That comes with a little knowledge of language. When they acquire that knowledge, then maybe they'll understand that story, but otherwise, no. Learning their mother tongue can foster peer interactions as well. We've seen a lot of social development. When they learn their mother tongue, they are able to, in discuss stories that we have narrated with each other. They are interacting it with their peers, and they are able to communicate freely with classmates and build social bonds and teamwork skills. I also feel that learning their mother tongue can help them connect with older members of their family. They can share stories of what they have learned in the classroom. Even if it is as simple as a new word, they go and they tell it to their parents or grandparents, and especially grandparents, when they see their grandchildren learn a new word in their mother tongue, they are elated, they are very joyous, and the grandparents feel a sense of pride that my child has learned this. They understand the meaning of this word in my language. This makes the relationship between the grandparent and the grandchild strengthen. They connect on a deeply personal level through shared language. I personally, my mother tongue is Urdu, so my children also speak Urdu as a mother tongue, and I've seen my son interact with his grandmother over Urdu poetry. They discuss Urdu poetry, and both are avid lovers of Urdu poetry, and they have meaningful conversations, meaningful dinner table. It makes for a meaningful dinner table conversation. It's such lovely to see them interact over a shared interest in poetry. Mother tongue learning gives children access to learning their folklore. Most of the folklore stories around culture are in their mother tongue. So it makes them feel connected to, their culture in a way, their stories, the songs that, you sing at cultural events, they're all in mother tongue. And poetry, as I told you, it makes them feel connected to poetry. They can read poetry, read stories, understand what their culture is actually about, which can deepen their understanding actually about their culture. It gives the children a sense of belonging in general. When they are reading stories about their culture in their mother tongue, they are participating in songs that happen in a cultural event. So if they are learning their mother tongue, it gives them a sense of belonging. They feel that they belong here. They do not feel alienated from their culture, their roots. It connects them deeply to their roots. They feel pride in speaking the same language as their ancestors did. um, so yeah, in our environment, in our school, we offer 4 languages: English, Urdu, Hindi, and Telugu. The mother tongue of the children is predominantly Urdu in our environment. So, most of the time, our communication with the ones who newly walk into our environment is in Urdu. So, because they understand and respond to it better, so we do that. Likewise, we do not give importance to one particular language as such. We give equal importance to all languages because all languages are equal and language is a means of communication. So they should be able to communicate in any language. So that's what we do in our environment. We have tried to develop material for both reading and writing in all 4 languages in our environment. We have, say, classified pictures, sandpaper letters, movable alphabets, object box 1 and 2. And then we have a lot of extended reading that we offer to children. We give them function of words in all languages. And then we do classified reading. So, you know, uh, in all 4 languages, we see that all these things we try to prepare, and we see if we do not have, say, a particular material in a particular language, then we try to make that material and complete it for all 4 languages in our environment. So in our environment, we strive to make learning languages fun. All languages should be fun, and we encourage children to learn their mother tongue. We always encourage them to learn their mother tongue because that will help them connect to their roots. And especially Urdu children, when they learn Urdu as their mother tongue, a lot of Islamic literature is also in Urdu. So it helps them to connect at a deeper level to their religion as well. So yeah, that's my experience as a teacher.